Welcome to the NewsHour. A dramatic move by President Trump tonight. He's trying to single-handedly block nearly $5 billion in foreign aid already approved by Congress. And he's doing it by invoking a little-known power play called a pocket rescission, effectively cutting lawmakers out of the process.
That is when a president asks Congress to cancel funds so close to the end of the fiscal year that Congress can't act on the request and the funds expire. In this instance, $3.2 billion would be cut from development assistance, along with $838 million from peacekeeping efforts, $520 million in contributions to the UN, and $322 million from the State Department's Democracy Fund. The Republican chair of the Senate Appropriations Committee, Susan Collins, publicly criticized the request, writing in a statement that, quote, any effort to rescind appropriated funds without congressional approval is a clear violation of the law. Missouri's Republican governor is calling lawmakers into a special session to redraw the state's congressional maps. Mike Kehoe's announcement is just the latest move in a nationwide battle over redistricting ahead of next year's midterm elections. Just hours earlier in Texas,
I'm about to sign the law that creates the one big, beautiful map that ensures
Governor Greg Abbott signed into law a new voting map designed to help Republicans gain 5 more seats in next year's midterms. An emergency hearing about President Trump's firing of Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook concluded today with no immediate ruling from the district judge. Cook's attorney left the courthouse in Washington, D.C. after more than 2 hours of arguments. He urged the judge to allow Cook to stay on the Fed board, underscoring that Trump could soon begin the process of filling her seat. The president fired Cook on Monday, citing allegations of mortgage fraud. It's a significant escalation in Trump's battle with the politically independent central bank. The judge requested more written arguments from both sides by next week. Iowa Senator Joni Ernst reportedly will not seek re-election next year. That's according to multiple media outlets and first reported by CBS News. The Republican is expected to announce her plans not to seek a third term next month.
We have had very frank conversations. Is that correct, Mr. Hegseth?
Senator, that is correct.
An Iraq veteran, Ernst played a vital role in confirming Pete Hegseth as defense secretary earlier this year, despite his past comments about banning women from combat roles. Ernst joins a growing list of Republican lawmakers choosing not to run. That's given Democrats new hopes of picking up seats in next year's midterm elections. President Trump has revoked the Secret Service detail for his 2024 opponent, former Vice President Kamala Harris. Her protection officially ends on Monday. Vice presidents typically get 6 months of federal protection after leaving office, but former President Biden had reportedly extended Harris's through next July. Mr. Trump had already cut off protections for other Biden officials and family members, plus perceived enemies from his own ranks. That includes former Trump National Security Advisor John Bolton, among others. In Minnesota, local media is reporting that Governor Tim Walz is floating the idea of an emergency legislative session following this week's Catholic school shooting that left 2 students dead. In a social media post, Walz wrote, quote, it's time to take serious action at the state capitol to address gun violence, but he provided few details. In the meantime, the second victim of Wednesday's shooting has been identified as 10-year-old Harper Moisky. She died along with 8-year-old schoolmate Fletcher Merkel. Harper Moisky's family, in a statement, demanded that leaders address gun violence and the mental health crisis in the country, saying, quote, no family should ever have to endure this kind of pain. Change is possible, and it is necessary. Ukrainian and Western officials are working to kickstart talks aimed at ending the war following a recent uptick in Russian attacks. In New York today, the head of Ukraine's presidential office met with U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, 2 weeks to the day since President Trump welcomed Russian President Vladimir Putin to Alaska. Trump has accused Putin of stalling on a U.S. proposal for direct talks between the Russian leader and Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky. In Kyiv today, Zelensky said he wants to meet with European leaders and Trump to discuss security guarantees for his country.
Те, що ми хочемо What we want is that these security guarantees from the European countries and from the United States of America to be supported by the parliaments and by Congress. Yes, we want security guarantees legally. We want a document, a serious one.
Meanwhile, residents of Ukraine's capital city have been mourning those lost in Russia's devastating strikes yesterday. Officials now say at least 23 people were killed and dozens more injured in those attacks. Protests are growing across Indonesia after police allegedly ran over and killed a delivery driver during a demonstration yesterday. Clashes broke out between protesters and authorities in Jakarta, where thousands took to the streets. One group set fire to a building near a police compound, leaving people stuck inside. The protests began Monday amid anger over a range of issues, including pay for lawmakers and education funding. Indonesia's president is urging calm and says he's ordered an investigation into the delivery driver's death. On Wall Street today, stocks pulled back from recent records. The Dow Jones Industrial Average slipped around 90 points on the day. The Nasdaq fell nearly 250 points. The S&P 500 also ended in negative territory. Still to come on the News Hour, we speak to the head of the World Food Program after her trip to famine-gripped Gaza. President Trump fires a Democrat from a key transportation board ahead of a massive railway merger. And David Brooks and Kimberly Atkins Storr weigh in on the week's political headlines.
This is the PBS NewsHour from the David M. Rubenstein Studio at WETA in Washington, and in the West from the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism at Arizona State University.